Hi, how are you? Holy hell.
Holy hell. You're just joining. It took us about 40 minutes to get set up today because we don't know what the fuck we're doing.
This is like our 10th episode and it just gets worse every episode. It's supposed to get easier.
Yeah, we are so not good with technology and we're trying our best to up the feed and use microphones and headphones. And
Yeah.
every time it's like we can use some of those things, but not all of them.
We'll get it. We'll laugh about these days, Megan.
Will we?
Ha 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 ha.
All right. Well, what are you drinking today?
So I'm drinking a coffee with rum chata, and I also put a little just toasted. I've been drinking toasted almond milk in my coffee, which is really a nice flavor.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you buy toasted almond milk or do you toast it yourself?
No, it comes that way.
Oh, I've never heard of it before.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe it's just a Chicago thing.
Maybe.
What are you drinking?
I am drinking a homemade Bailey's that Kelly from Jane Kelly Floral dropped off for me over the holidays.
Oh.
She said her family has made this recipe. Oh shit, I forgot what she said. And I'm not going to move my phone to look at her text, but it's a long time. So let's just say 10 years. And Kelly, if you're listening, you can correct me, but it's good.
Megan and I right now are just frozen in place. Like,
Mhm.
uh,
Like, don't touch a cord, don't touch your phone, don't touch anything.
okay, before we get into today's, well, okay, I have to give you an update on my love life.
Oh, yes.
Are you ready?
Did he show up at your house?
He hasn't shown up at my house yet, but a date has been set.
What?
He's coming.
I thought you broke up with him.
Well, I did.
So offline, she told me that they were not a thing anymore. So I was expecting her to say that, and now we have a date. Okay, so when is he coming?
He's coming the end of January. Soon.
Did he listen to the podcast?
I hope not because I
Well, here is the progression. Here's the real life progression. Jen and I record the podcast. She makes fun of the marionette in the podcast,
yeah.
asks me to cut it out because she likes him and we're trying to be nice. I cut it out. Then she tells me that it's not going to work out between them. Okay, so then we do the TikTok and we kind of make fun of the marionette. Yeah, now we're back together.
Now we're back together. I mean, you've known me my whole love life.
Yes.
This is pretty on brand. The marionette, though, is in my closet. It kind of creeps me out. So I will have to bring it out of my closet, obviously, when he comes to visit.
It comes to life at night and dances around.
Yeah, that's what I envision. But here's what I'm going to do. Okay, obviously plane tickets can still be canceled. So who knows if this will actually happen. But if it does, I'm going to do a reel of what I do with him in Chicago because I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, definitely.
When you have somebody to come visit you, you wouldn't know because you've never come to visit me. But when you have somebody to come visit you and you like rediscover your city because you're like a tour guide and you're like, look at this and isn't this great? And then you're like, I love Chicago again.
Has he ever been to Chicago before?
No, he's been to Denver.
Oh, that's random.
Yeah, I liked that about him though. It's part of what I liked. Because usually when you meet people from other countries and they've been to the US, it's like New York, Miami, Vegas. Vegas is the worst. I'm like, why would you ever like it's every American stereotype in one location.
Yeah, it's not real life.
No, it's not. So that is my love life update for you, everybody.
Oh, I'm so excited to hear about this.
Yeah, me too.
And I think you should hang that marionette in Rachel's room while she's sleeping.
I should. Oh my God. Hello, Rachel.
That makes me think. So Jen and I had, I'm sure everybody saw on Instagram, we had a holiday party, just the two of us, and we were talking about episodes and things we wanted to talk about in the new year and things we wanted to do. And that prank Reminded me of when you and I were talking about a potential episode where we go and crash a wedding.
Yeah, oh, I wanna do it.
I know, I wanna do it
So,
too.
okay, we're putting this out there. If you're a wedding vendor listening to this, we would love for you to let us know if there is a wedding we could quote unquote crash. We would be cool about it, obviously.
We won't be obnoxious at the wedding. We're not gonna do anything bad. We just wanna go as guests to a random wedding.
Yeah, we would come during the dancing and we would like eat the late night snack. Oh my God, I love the late night snack. And we would eat the little table desserts. So, yeah, if you're a wedding vendor and you think you have a couple who would like their wedding to be crashed
And featured on a podcast.
by future famous podcast hosts,
Yes.
then they could say that they knew us when. Email us.
We're really trying to get those emails. Still no emails besides Spotify.
One of my friends did message me recently. They had just consumed one of our episodes, and she said she had ideas for episodes and asked for our email address.
Oh, perfect.
So you should be getting an email from her, maybe.
Okay, great. Do you want me to give you an update on my Reddit post?
Yes, please.
So I posted on Reddit, assuming that I would get kicked off. I clearly don't know much about Reddit because somebody commented on the post and it just said, I think this is a great idea. I don't know why you're getting so many downvotes.
Oh,
Like to push it down, like because it's bad. And I wrote back and I said, I don't even know what downvotes are, so I don't really care. We just were looking for people to email us good story ideas.
yeah, stop down voting us. Oh, also, while we're kind of pimping ourselves right now, like email us. You know what else listeners would really help us out? We're learning so much about, well, I'm learning so much about podcasts, period. And then just in general. Can you download our episodes when you listen to
Yeah, and if you subscribe, like if you put it in your feed, it should download automatically, I think. So if you like follow us, I think that's how it works. We
Okay.
talked about how we're not very good with technology, so I could be wrong on that, but I believe that that's how it works. So if you are not into podcasts, it's not how many people listen to you, it's how many people actually download the episode, which is weird.
And it's weird. But now all of our 3 listeners can, I'm just kidding. We have more than 3 listeners.
Yeah, we actually have quite a few now.
Yeah, it's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
Hey, Kathy.
I actually searched before we got on. I went on to Apple Podcasts and I searched weddings and I scrolled down and I couldn't find us anywhere. But then Jen, I searched wedding planner and I scrolled down and we came up as number 32.
Oh my.
And that's not even the 30-second podcast because some podcasts were listed twice. Like some of their episodes were listed
Okay.
separately. So there you go.
Look at us climbing the ladder.
That pretty much means that we're like New York Times top 10. It's pretty much the same thing.
We're heading that direction. So again, going back, if you want us to crash your wedding or whatever, it'll be so funny. We're so funny. We'd be such good guests.
We would.
Yeah. So, anywho,
So
speaking of
speaking of
wedding guests,
guests,
we're so good at this. We just transition
yeah,
without even trying.
we didn't even plan that. Oh my gosh. We thought it would be funny today to talk about things that we've seen from wedding guests that we really wish we hadn't seen.
Yeah.
Guests gone wild.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, it's always so interesting preparing for our recordings because I have a list of all the weddings I've ever done. And I'm really kicking myself for not having kept more detailed notes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I've been doing this for so long now that you're like going through the list of names and some of them I'm like, I don't even remember who that is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, especially if it's 6 week stuff,
Yeah.
it's harder. But I do remember a lot of people. I just don't remember crazy details. But I will say that after doing this podcast, things do suddenly jump into my head.
Yeah.
Okay, so, it definitely made me think of a few things. I think when people think of crazy guests at weddings, the first thing that they probably think of is drunk guests, right?
Totally. Which there's so many drunk guests, it's kind of even hard to.
I don't even think that a drunk guest at a wedding doesn't phase me, right?
Yep.
It's like you have to be blitzed, right?
Right.
For me to start kind of either laughing at you, rolling my eyes, or getting mad. Because those are the three things that are going to happen. I'm either going to be like, haha, that's funny,
Right.
rolling my eyes because I'm kind of annoyed, or super seriously irritated because you're going to hurt somebody or yourself.
I agree. And, for the most part, I will say, I mean, pretty much 99.9% of the drunk guests that I've had at all of my weddings have been fine, like just normal
Mhm.
drunk. I did, though, this wasn't one of my weddings. So as I'm kind of transitioning from doing like tons of weddings to doing few, I have offered myself up to assist some other planners down here. And I assisted a good friend of mine on a wedding at the end of August. And it was a very small, intimate wedding. I shouldn't say very small, but like 80 people, which to me feels small.
Okay.
And this was a wedding that, when I was getting prepped prior to assisting, I was told there's going to be no dancing. This is just a dinner. They're just very chill couple, whatever.
Yep.
And not only was there dancing and lots of it, but there was a guest that got sick
Oh,
all over himself.
on the dance floor?
He was still sitting at dinner.
Oh,
So he was sitting at the table, got sick. They had to bring out like the hazmat, or what is that what it's called?
I think so. Because nobody wants to, like, I'm not touching it.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, he was in the bathroom for a long time with people helping him get cleaned up. He left with his clothes in a bag. I mean,
Yeah. I have definitely had people throw up. One of my first seasons, I had a bridesmaid just throw up all over the bathroom.
oh,
I think I had a couple weddings that year, and it was like bridesmaids in the women's bathroom. Somebody comes out and they're like, somebody needs to clean up the bathroom. And you go in and it's just that stench, right? And
yeah,
first of all, I'm not cleaning it up.
no.
It's disgusting. So I tell somebody, but then the second thing is, where is this person? Because we need to make sure that they get somewhere safely, right?
Where is this person?
Calling them a cab, right? Oh my gosh. I haven't had anybody poop themselves. I'm trying to think.
Oh God, be careful. Don't put that in the universe.
I had somebody one time urinate off the patio of the Milwaukee Art Museum.
Oh my God.
This was like a grown ass man.
I mean, I assumed it wasn't a grown ass lady. Can you hold my wine real quick? Oh God. One time I helped a bride, well, this isn't a guest story, but one time I helped a bride puke and then she rallied. I
Oh,
mean, she came out of that bathroom like she was ready for round
oh
two.
my God.
And I've never been a puke and rallier. I mean, like,
You're done.
yeah. So I was impressed.
Yeah. I also, ladies, I will say there's nothing wrong with drinking at a wedding if you're a wedding guest. However, there are different things that you have to think about as opposed to what men have to think about when they're drinking. For example, your attire. A lot of ladies show up in shorter cocktail dresses and they look very lovely at the beginning of the night. However, by 10:30, if you have had a few too many tequila sodas and you are still getting down and dirty on the dance floor, all is fine and good, but please make sure that you are still covering yourself because I have seen way too many butts and vaginas. I cannot imagine being a photographer and a videographer and having to edit out all of the inappropriate photos from women on the dance floor whose dresses are a little too short.
Well, that's why they leave about an hour after the dance floor opens, because that's
Wow.
exactly the reason why. Yeah, so ladies, make sure maybe leave the thong at home and wear a pair of briefs, perhaps. Full coverage briefs. I know it's not that sexy, but then, you can still get down and dirty.
Yeah, or change into shorts at like 9 o'clock.
That'd be great.
Oh, I've tried to help a few people out if they have like a big slit up their dress and be like, oh, you might want to swing that over. People just don't care at that point.
No, they don't.
It's like a porno out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's a wedding. One of my favorite things is when I like touch base with my couples after their wedding is I'm like, did anybody hook up? I love to know if anybody hooked up. I feel like it's such a wedding cliche when you're single and going to a wedding. You're like, who am I going to meet? You know?
Yeah. It's kind of exciting and thrilling for somebody who's been married for 15 years to think about.
I would love to do a wedding for a couple who met at another one of my weddings and they like hooked up that night and then got married. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, that would be awesome. I have an aunt and uncle who met at my other aunt's wedding.
They totally hooked up.
Probably.
Yeah.
Okay, what else? So we talked about flashing people. There's also the issue of people getting hurt. Have you ever seen anybody get really hurt at a wedding?
Yes, I had a wedding where now I'm like so aware of this, but when you open up that dance floor, all of a sudden all you hear is like glasses breaking.
Yes.
And we work really quickly, like as quickly as we can. We hear it, we grab the caterers. Of course, as I'm walking to get the caterer, a guest is like, just so you know. And I'm like, I know. Like, I thank you so much. I'm working on it. But, we try so hard to work quickly to get that picked up. And I'm just going to say another thing, ladies. Oh man, poor ladies. We're just like kind of getting them today. Don't take off your shoes or don't wear shoes that you can't dance in or bring a pair of flip flops.
Right.
You should not be dancing barefoot.
No.
So I had a guest cut their foot pretty badly on a piece of glass and they had to leave. I mean, we tried to stop the bleeding so that they didn't have to, but it was obvious that stitches need to happen. So off they went, which is like, that's so shitty.
Yeah. I had a wedding one time where, yes, the lady, so this poor lady, she kept her shoes on, very intoxicated, and was walking just flat to the ground, face first to the ground, like tripped, boom, broke her nose, got up, there's blood gushing down her nose. She's so drunk where we're like, okay, trying to grab Kleenex and whatever. She tried to tell us that she wanted to stay at the wedding, but like she needed to go and get her face looked at. And I was kind of worried that she may have gotten like a concussion or something. It's like, who knows?
Totally.
I mean, it was dead weight just hitting the floor. It's insane. But I'm also very nervous about that kind of stuff. I think it's a little like mom instinct in me too sometimes where I'm like, be careful, be careful, be careful.
Right.
8 years ago, I don't know why all these people thought it was a good idea for the Grand March, get people on their shoulders to come in. Terrifying to me. Like, stop it. You've already been drinking. This is a recipe for
Yeah.
disaster. And then I did a wedding one time for some professional water skiers. And so they had all of these water skier friends at the wedding. And so on the dance floor, they kept trying, not trying, they knew how to do them, but they kept doing the stunts, like the water skiing stunts on the dance floor.
Like the pyramid and
Yes,
all that stuff.
yes, I'm like, just stop.
Yeah. Like we get it,
Yeah.
I had a bridesmaid once that was so drunk. She was drunk at the church and we almost had to pull her out of the ceremony. They were young, every time I think back and the drunkest ever were the people who were like under 25 when they were getting married.
Right.
And the ballroom was like you had to go down this grand staircase to get to the ballroom. So we did the grand march where they walked down the stairs and she missed the first step and rode down on her ass the whole way down the
Oh.
part of me was like, I mean, you kind of deserved that. Like, you've been a pain in everyone's ass all day. So now you can have a literal pain in your ass. She was fine, but she was obnoxious. They're not friends anymore, by the way.
It's so funny to me that you know all of these things about these couples that these weddings were so long
I
ago.
know. I was actually laying in bed last night thinking about reels to do for a fresh event, and I'm like, maybe I'll do a Where Are They Now with like some of my favorite couples.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah. That wedding too, I'll never forget besides that bridesmaid. Do you remember that Panda song by Desiigner? It was like Panda, 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 that rap song.
No.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm not giving it, I'm not doing it justice, but they requested that song 6 times. I heard that song 6 times.
I'm gonna have to look it up now.
Yeah, it's a pretty good song. It's a pretty good song.
Is it obnoxious like that What Does the Fox Say song was?
No, no. It was like, it wasn't like a kid song.
Got it. Okay.
It was like a cool rap song, says me. I don't know.
Isn't it funny how different groups of people have like certain songs, right? Like that group, clearly that there's something with that song.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law at Christmas was telling us about they were just at a wedding. I think they were down in Mexico for this wedding. And apparently the college that he went to, whenever a certain song came on, all the guys would take their shirts off.
Oh, yeah,
I think that's pretty tame.
totally.
I had a wedding one time at the Urban Ecology Center. I will never forget this. Pretty late in the night. That's a pretty small venue. So it's a pretty intimate crowd where the dance floor is right in the middle. And then there's anybody who's sitting is pretty close to the dance floor. Okay.
Okay.
This is also back when I used to like stand the whole time and creepily like watch the dancing the whole time because I didn't know what else to do, right? Those awkward years. P.S. You don't have to do that if you're an
Yeah.
event planner. You're not babysitting. You can go away. So I'm standing there, and all of a sudden, somebody requests a song. I have no idea what song it was. That's not important. But all of these younger kids took their tops off, but like down to the ground, and then dropped their pants. And the girls, even if they had a dress on, unzipped down to the ground. So it was all of these people, guys and girls, bras, underwear, just swaying around in a circle.
Oh.
And I was like, what in the good Lord's name is happening right now?
I'm sure it was also a Catholic ceremony earlier in the day.
No, it wasn't. It was at the Urban
I'm
Ecology.
just kidding.
The wedding was out in the woods. I don't know if you're going to remember this because I don't know if you were in Milwaukee or Chicago at this time. But do you remember when people in Milwaukee were saying that there was like a lion loose in those woods? Oh, people kept saying that they saw a lion out there. And so I had to go back out like later in the night to collect some wedding ceremony stuff. And I was so terrified that I was going to get eaten by a lion. So dumb.
It's funny that you just said that because yesterday I was messaging with a guy friend of mine from Milwaukee, and he was like, "Remember when that one girl got rabies and survived?" And I was like, kind of. Like, I kind of remember these stories. Like, man, things really are, they say things are dangerous in Chicago, but I mean, come on. I feel like you guys are just as dangerous as we are.
Yeah, that lion could still be out there. But the song ended and they all picked up their clothes and act like it never happened.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing.
I had a wedding last year where that happened. Not the women, but all the men got. I mean, I've had men take off their shirts, ties on heads, whatever, but got down to their underwear. And then we're like dancing around the brides. And it was pretty awesome, actually. I have video of it. It was pretty hilarious.
Oh my gosh. Most of the weddings that I do now, if something like that happened, I think there would be some pretty mortified people at the event.
Yeah. Well, you do like VIP weddings now, right?
No,
Some.
some.
You're the CEO of a company in Milwaukee and you just got naked on the dance floor. Yikes. You know what I mean?
What happens at a wedding stays at a wedding.
Right. That's why I do D-list celebrity weddings because I don't have to sign any NDAs. Remember Vince Condella?
Was he the weatherman?
He was the weatherman like our whole lives. And then I was nannying in this neighborhood and he lived there. And one day I was out for a walk and I saw him and I was like, oh my God, it's Vince Candela. I had a crush on him when I was little. He was like this old mustached man. What's wrong with me? Anyways, back to back to wedding guests. One time I was sexually harassed by a wedding guest.
Oh, was that when you were working for me?
It was.
I was gonna say, I feel like I remember this.
Well, yeah, I was working a wedding and I was actually talking to the bride. The dance floor was open. I didn't even realize it was sexual harassment at the time because when it happens to you, you're just like so shocked that you don't even know what to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this guy came up to us and was like talking to the bride. He put his arm around the bride and then he wound up and slapped my ass and grabbed it like so hard.
Oh, I don't remember this.
Yeah. Yeah. And the bride yelled at him and like told him to get away. And I just like stood there because you're just like so paralyzed, you know? Now, if that happened, I would leave.
Oh, right.
It's in my contract.
And this was just a random guest?
Yeah,
Oh,
it was so gross. And then that one time, I think the thing you're thinking about is when the uncle cornered me and I called you.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That is what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, he like pushed me into a corner and he was like yelling at me and like pointing in my face. And I didn't know what to do. And I've never felt that unsafe.
Right.
And it was in a church. Just like, you guys, come on, Catholics, get it together. I used to be one. I can say that, okay? Get it together.
I don't think I've ever been sexually harassed, but I did see an older gentleman just come out of the bathroom with his pants completely like
Oh, God.
undone because he was intoxicated. Belt, buttons, zipper, it's just like open. And you could tell he was trying to like fiddle with it to put it back together. Not like anything sexual was like going on in the bathroom and he was coming out. Just like he went to the bathroom, he got everything off, and he was so drunk he couldn't put himself back together. And do you know what my first instinct was? Like in my head, I was like, he needs help.
Yeah.
Dear Lord, I am not helping. Like I didn't, right? But that's like the first thing that pops into my head.
Do you need me to zippy your zipper for you?
He probably did. Like he probably did need somebody to do it for him. It just was not going to be me.
I also love that you said fiddled. He was fiddling.
Well, that sounds like an old man word of something that
I'm
he's
trying to fiddle with myself to get my pants back up. There I was, fiddling with myself.
Oh God, I hope I never see anybody fiddling with themselves at a wedding.
Have you ever been hit on at a wedding? I mean, you're not very approachable, let's be honest.
I'm not. I pretty much have a bitch face on the entire time. You know, I'm going to just go ahead and say no. I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say no as well. I have never knowingly, if I've been hit on, I was not in that, what is that called? Mind frame of mind.
Mindset?
Thank you.
Yeah. No, I agree. I am not really thinking about that.
Well, and now I realize too that I am not really in the age range of guests. I'm like younger uncle.
Yeah, we're at a weird place right now because when we started, I feel like we were sometimes younger than our couples, more often than now.
Yeah.
We were many times close to the same age as our couples.
Yeah, I was.
And now I'm at some weird middle point
Right.
between being older than them and younger than their parents.
Well, so I refer to myself as the fun aunt. And it's like, you know, when there's a family of 6 kids and you were the youngest, it's like I'm the youngest of the 6 kids
Yeah.
and you're the kid of the oldest. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if I am going to meet a man at a wedding now, it would need to be the like, oops, son of the grandparents, you know, like we thought we were done and oops, we had another one, you know what I mean? So anyways.
This is turning into like Tinder for Jen.
Yeah. Hey, this podcast is meant to be used to bring us abundance in
Yes.
whatever form that takes.
So speaking of fiddling with themselves, have you ever caught anybody fiddling with each other at a wedding?
No. And I think that would be so epic. Have you?
So I wasn't. Okay, so here's the story. I didn't actually catch them, but I had a wedding. And so back when my kids were little, I did the planning a little bit differently, where it only included me staying until about 10 o'clock. I think it was technically like 30 minutes after your first dance, because let's be honest, after you get on the dance floor, there's not a lot that goes down.
But I would also argue that if you are shopping for a coordinator or a planner, you should have one that stays till the end of the night. Wouldn't you say that now?
Yeah, I mean, I stay till the end of the night now. I mean, when my kids were little and I was having to wake up like at 1 o'clock in the morning
Totally.
and 4 o'clock in the morning, I was just like, no, this is just how it has to be. And if they want me to stay later, they can pay extra.
I did that as well, but I also think that was during a time when we were not in the same realm we're in now,
Right.
obviously. Like people were paying much less for us.
Yes. We charge less, so you get less.
Anyways, I just had to throw that in there because even though a whole lot doesn't happen when the dance floor opens, you could have a guest step on glass.
Right.
And also at the end of the night, remember when Rachel was on and it's like, oh, your friends aren't going to pack up shit for you.
Right.
So anyways,
I completely agree. I just don't stand there and stare at the dance floor anymore for 3 hours.
I know I go hide.
I go hide. I like do work sometimes.
I get a glass of wine and I go sit and then it's so great. Okay.
Okay. So I had done this wedding. Everything was great. I left and I got a call from the venue, I believe. It was like midnight. So I had been home for a little bit, but I must have been up for some reason. And I answered my phone and they proceeded to tell me that two guests had gone into one of the family bathrooms that they have there. And
Oh yeah. Bow chicka bow wow.
yep, they had went in there, which, if you just go in there and do what you need to do and come out, I ain't got no problem with that. That's your own
Yeah,
business,
yeah.
right? However, what happened was the sink broke off the wall.
Oh.
Use your imagination, people, on what they were doing that made the sink break off the wall. Water was gushing out of the pipe and flooding the bathroom. They must have been so embarrassed.
Yeah.
Although I don't know if the venue actually called. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. I will be very honest. I was just like, well, I'm home.
Yeah.
They called me because they thought I was still there.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not a plumber, so I don't know what I could do. It's like, you need to call a plumber or some sort of emergency.
You're like, let me get my planner kit. I have some gauze and some
Right.
tape and
I'll get my wrench and tighten the pipe. It's like, your sink is off the wall. Like,
yeah, like turn off the water.
yeah, call your maintenance man.
I guess at least we would have known to do that. Turn off the water. Holy cow. That's insane.
Good for them.
Yeah, good for them until the couple knocked on their door and was like, hey, we had this bill.
Yeah.
Also, why I feel like every story we tell, one of us is always like, and then here's some wisdom. Get day of insurance.
Yeah. If you think your friends are going to bang in the bathroom so hard that a sink comes off the wall, get some insurance.
I did have a wedding once where the bride and groom in there, in the bathroom where you can put like trays of gum and deodorant and et cetera, et cetera. They had condoms.
They're just being safe.
Yeah, it was like they know what can happen at their lovely wedding.
I had somebody one time put a pregnancy test in there.
Like multiple?
Don't remember if it was one or multiple. Maybe it wasn't supposed to be in there and it was an accident. I have no idea.
And, when things like that happen, like, when we get all your items, obviously we have like a list of what we're getting, but if it just is like bathroom basket and there's a pregnancy test in there, we're going to put it out.
And I think somebody used it. It wasn't there at the end of the night.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Let's see. Other weird guest stars. Ooh. This one isn't, I guess, that weird, but I think, like, again, I don't do drugs. Anyways, moving on. So I was at a wedding and it was dinner service. And it's very odd. I'm sure you feel the same way, but it's like, you know all of your guests. Like, even if it's a 200-person wedding, you can scan the room and you just recognize outfits and people. And sometimes when you're watching guests, a few, of course, stand out for whatever reason.
Sure.
So this one woman came late to the ceremony, so she was on my shit list to begin with. Like, I had my eyes on her. And then we sat down for dinner, or like guests sat down for dinner, and I'm kind of just, watching the flow of dinner service and whatnot. And she got up and walked outside. Don't think anything of it. She comes back, sits down. About 10 minutes later, she gets up. She walks outside. She comes back, she sits down. By the fourth time now, I'm like, what is going on? And she, during dinner service, does this continuously.
Okay.
And so finally, of course, I've gotten close with the couple. So I pull the bride aside and I'm like, what is up with that one? Like, what is she doing? And my bride was like, yeah, she's a coworker and I had to invite her and she's probably snorting cocaine. And I'm like, what? Like, how much cocaine
Yeah.
do you snort?
Well, I also don't do drugs, so I don't know much about it. Comment in the chat if we're wrong, but I don't think anybody does that much cocaine,
I
right?
don't know.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Maybe she was doing, like, one time she'd do cocaine and then she would just, who knows.
Yeah.
But she was driving me crazy because I am a Virgo and I'm anal and I'm like, just sit down and eat. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, she probably needed to eat for sure.
Yeah, she was very thin, which has always intrigued me about cocaine, but
Cocaine, a cheaper Ozempic.
yeah. But yeah, I also had a wedding where a lot of the guests, I didn't realize at the time that that's what they were doing. Somebody helped me out later when I was explaining their behavior. But at that wedding, a guy on the dance floor pulled down his pants completely.
Ew.
Yeah.
Here's a tip, guys. Nobody wants to see that.
No,
Nobody.
no, it's not at all what anybody wants to see.
Yeah. You know how you go to strip clubs and you want women to take their clothes off?
Yeah.
You can keep yours on.
I mean, even when it's the person whose we want to see, sometimes we're like, it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason it goes in something. So yeah, men, keep your pants on and don't fiddle with yourself, please, at weddings.
I think that's a great way to end this episode. The moral of the story is keep your pants on and don't fiddle with yourself.
Ladies, keep your shoes on. Guys, keep your pants on.
But if you want to fiddle with somebody else, just make sure that you have insurance.
Yes, and be safe. Wrap it up.
Yes. Check the bathroom basket.
Yeah. What does the saying used to be? There used to be a saying. Don't be a prick, wrap your dick. No, that's not what the saying was. Don't put that in there.
I bet we'd get a lot of hits on this episode if it was behind the scenes. Don't be a prick, wrap your dick.
I mean, maybe keep it in there because it's kind of funny. It's a good life motto, for real.
We're dropping all kinds of knowledge bombs today.
This is awesome. We started this episode. It was super frustrating, but it's always so fun. It's always so fun. It's good to see you and laugh and talk about all of the crazy shit we've dealt with.
Yeah.
So if you want to give us any suggestions about what to talk about next.
Or if you have a crazy story about a guest at your own wedding or a wedding you've been to.
Yeah.
theplannerspassport@gmail.com. Email us. You can stay anonymous. Just tell us you want to be anonymous. And we want to do a whole episode where we read fun stories from other people.
You can also, if emailing is too difficult for you, you can also message us on our Instagram. So we have an Instagram, The Planner's Passport. If you're not following us, follow us there and just DM us and You're on your freaking phone all the time. Just do that.
Is email like too hard for this younger?
It might be. That's why I just threw out that Instagram little,
Good Lord.
that
Okay.
little tip, that little Instagram tip. All right. Well, thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening. We'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for joining us again this week. If you have a wedding or travel-related story of your own that you would like us to share in a future episode, send us an email to theplannerspassport@gmail.com.
And be sure to follow us on Instagram at The Planner's Passport, and follow all of our travel and wedding businesses, including We Roam Solo, Dare to Dream Travel, and Dare to Dream Weddings. And please, if you enjoy our show, remember to rate, review, and subscribe from wherever you are listening to this podcast.